Hello and a very good morning. You're watching the Breakfast News on Rajya Sabha television with me, Frank Pereira. Let's begin with this morning's headlines. Prime Minister to meet industry leaders, bankers, top government officials and economic experts at his residence today. Meet to discuss current global economic situation and opportunities for India. Congress Working Committee meeting to discuss issues on which main opposition party can target the NDA government. CWC may also discuss tenure extension for Sonia Gandhi. 6 more people perished in the floods in Assam, taking the total death toll to 42. Brahmaputra continues to flow above the danger level. Hungary is again the flashpoint of EU's migrant crisis. Hundreds break through police lines to set out on foot for Budapest. This as the EU withdraws its refugee quota system with only a few agreeing. And Andy Murray crashes out of the US Open, but good news for India as Rohan Bopanna advances to the doubles quarterfinals. Let's begin this morning in the first of its kind meeting since taking over. Prime Minister Narendra Modi will interact with top businessmen, RBI governor and top banks and government officials at a meeting at his official residence today. The meeting is being held in the backdrop of the plunging markets and fears of a global slowdown after China's slump. The meeting, titled Recent Global Events Opportunities for India, will see some 40 delegates including Mukesh Ambani, Cyrus Mistry, KM Birla and Sunil Mittal along with the RBI Governor Raghuram Rajan. Top bankers and leading economists discuss the pressing issues as they sit across the table with the Prime Minister. It will be the Prime Minister's second meeting with representatives of industry associations or chambers in 2 months. The Prime Minister had his first interaction with business leaders on June 30th and heard their grievances on issues ranging from high capital costs to ease of doing business to certainty of taxation matters. Meanwhile, on Monday, the slump in stock markets resumed with the Sensex slipping below the psychological 25,000 mark for the first time in 15 months. The fall is being attributed to weakness in the rupee. The Indian currency declined 36 paise to hit a 2-year low of 66.82 per dollar. The rupee has been trading around 2-year lows for some weeks now. Meanwhile, Chinese stocks also plunged over 3%, contributing to weakness in the domestic markets. The Sensex lost over 300 points, while the Nifty traded nearly 100 points down. Concerns about a US rate hike as early as next week have led to selling by foreign investors.
जिस तरीके से देखिए ग्लोबल वोलेटिलिटी है, जिस तरीके से भारतीय बाजारों में वोलेटिलिटी आज सुबह से देखने को मिल रही है, ये ट्रेडर्स मार्केट नहीं है। ट्रेडिंग के लिए अगर कोई आदमी आ रहा है शॉर्ट टर्म के लिए तो पैसा देने के चांसेस ज्यादा हैं, पैसा कमाने के चांसेस कम है। मेरा ऐसा मानना है कि ये एक निवेश का मौका है, लेकिन लंबी अवधि का नजरिया बनाना चाहिए। अपने पैसे को निवेश करना चाहिए, बोरोड फंड को मार्केट में नहीं लगाना चाहिए।
We are passing through really some bad phase. Like world or China and Europe are in big trouble. US is facing a rise in expected rise in interest rates. So, and apart from that, our country we have seen the economic activity is not picking up. The results last quarter results were of the corporates were not up to the mark and were much below the expectations.
Well, let's move on now to our other big focus of the day, the Congress Working Committee meeting. The meeting today will discuss issues including leadership in the party and also issues to target the Modi government with. Details on the massive victory rally over the land bill slated for later this month is also expected to be discussed during the meeting. Here's a report.
The Congress Working Committee is meeting today to discuss a host of issues. Chief among them is the leadership issues in the party. The focus of the meet will also be to identify national issues on which it can target the Modi government. The party is buoyed by what it says is its victory on the land bill. This meeting is important as it comes just within days after the government allowed the land ordinance to lapse. The party is planning a massive victory rally in Delhi to celebrate what it says is a victory of farmers. The CWC meeting is expected to discuss the details of that rally that will be held later this month. The Congress is also taking credit for its success in exerting pressure on the BJP over the alleged wrongdoings of its ministers. On Monday, Congress Vice President Rahul Gandhi held a closed-door meeting with several CLP leaders of the party in the national capital. The leaders of the Congress Legislative Party in the states where the party is not in power are understood to have appraised Rahul of prominent issues in their respective states and the strategy to be adopted by the party to highlight them.
पॉलिसीज पे डिस्कशन हुई है दैट आई एम नॉट एट लिबर्टी टू टेल। बिहार को लेकर भी कोई चर्चा हुई? देखिए साहब, कोई देर वाज नॉट, दिस वाज ओनली रिलेटेड टू पॉलिसीज ऑफ द कांग्रेस पार्टी। थैंक यू।
The meeting is likely to discuss the issue of extending Sonia Gandhi's tenure as party president. Her tenure is scheduled to end this year. And with Rahul Gandhi not yet ready to take over as president, the party will have to take a call on giving her a technical extension. Sources say the issues of amendments to the party constitution for reducing the term of its national president and organizational election are also expected to be discussed. This is Vishal Dahiya's report for Rajya Sabha TV.
Well, joining me for a chat this morning to talk about this is senior journalist Suraj Nagi. Welcome. Thank you for joining me on the program. You know, what's going to be the agenda as far as the CWC is concerned?
I think the technical issues are going to be very important this time, as well as the attack on the Modi government, which is inevitable in any Congress meeting. I mean, any meeting of any political party normally targets the opposition. In this case, it's going to be the Modi government. Insofar as the technical issues are concerned, I think your correspondent raised the issue of the leadership crisis, the leadership issue in the Congress, and that is going a different way, of course, because organizational elections in the Congress should have been underway by now.
Yes.
Since it hasn't happened, it means that it's going to be postponed. And they've already postponed it 4 times already since the last time. And Sonia Gandhi's term is going to end in December, which effectively means that the CWC will kind of adopt a resolution saying that she should continue for another term. Not for another term, but for a couple of...
Technical extension, maybe,
technical extension for a year or maybe 2 years. And then an AICC session will have to be called to ratify that.
Yes.
So effectively, that means that the anointment of Rahul Gandhi as the next president of the Congress is going to get delayed, because the election of the president is a culmination of the organizational elections which takes place right from the grassroots level up to the Congress president. So that gets deferred.
So what kind of a message does this now send out to the party cadres?
Well, I think, you know, ever since Rahul returned after his 56-day vacation, he's become more accessible, more visible, more audible. But the point is, has he become more acceptable? Now, this period is going to be the grooming period for him to be made more acceptable, not just within his party. Within his party, of course, they'll accept whoever, anybody from the Gandhi family. But given a choice between Sonia Gandhi and Rahul Gandhi, I think even the Congress people will turn towards Sonia Gandhi rather than Rahul Gandhi. So I think you have to fight the battle first within your own party to make him seen as an inevitable choice and an acceptable choice for everybody across the board, including the old guard. So, and besides that, you have to see that it's a coalition era insofar as the Congress is concerned. The BJP may have got a majority of its own, but the Congress can never think of a majority right now unless it depends on allies. So Rahul Gandhi has to be acceptable to other allies also. If you see what happened in Bihar, it was Sonia Gandhi who was sharing the stage with the allies, not Rahul Gandhi. So she is more acceptable to other potential allies also. So I think the entire period of Sonia's extension would be used to groom Rahul as an acceptable political figure.
We heard the Congress spokesperson talking about how only policy issues are going to be discussed at the CWC meet and they're not going to discuss any of the other issues. Do you see that happening, or do you see some of the other issues like probably Bihar even being discussed here at the CWC meet?
I think Bihar is going to be raised, but I think most of the decisions regarding Bihar are taken behind the scenes or at the General Secretary level, with the General Secretary in charge coordinating with the party president or the vice president. So I think Bihar would figure, but not to the extent that it would otherwise in a smaller grouping. And besides, it's a coalition. You're fighting in a coalition in Bihar. It's not that you're going it alone. So you have to take other parties into account also. The period where you could have stood and said, no, we want to fight it alone, that has long gone. So you have to depend on allies. You have to find, you have to figure out your seats. You have to figure out your candidates. And that is not normally done in a CWC. CWC is for policy issues, not for the nitty-gritty of, you know, who's going to contest where or on which seat, etc. etc.
Indeed.
But I think issues like what Rahul Gandhi raised in his on the eve of the CWC, he held a meeting with CLP leaders of non-Congress ruled states. I think the message lies in what happened yesterday. At the meeting, because there were 20 CLP leaders of non-Congress states, which shows that the Congress is out of power in most states. And there you have to struggle to make your organization strong, which is a very, very daunting task. Effectively, that means that you're in power in only 9 states in the country. For a party which is over 100 years to be in power in only 9 states, and the biggest states of these 9 states are Kerala and Karnataka, which account for only 48 Lok Sabha seats.
Sure. All right. Suraj Nagi, we'll have to leave it at that. Thank you so much for putting things into perspective for us and sharing your views on this particular subject. Moving on now, India and Pakistan may be preparing for DGMO level talks starting on the 9th of September, but the rhetoric from both sides continues to escalate. In a veiled warning to India, Pakistan Army Chief General Raheel Sharif has said that his country was ready for all kinds of war, long or short. This after Union Minister Rajya Singh Rathore reportedly said in an interview that India could neutralize its enemies like Dawood Ibrahim in covert operations. However, Rathore has clarified that he was misquoted. Here's more.
अफवाज पाकिस्तान तमाम अंदरूनी और बैरूनी चैलेंजेस और खतरात से निपटने की भरपूर सलाहियत रखती हैं.
Pak Army Chief General Raheel Sharif saying his troops are ready to tackle all kinds of threats, whether external or internal. At a special event organized to mark the 50th anniversary of the 1965 war, General Sharif also hinted at his troops' war readiness.
मुझे फख्र है कि मैं जंगी एतबार से दुनिया की सबसे बेहतरीन और तजर्बाकार फौज का कमांडर हूं. इस फौज का दुनिया में कोई सानी नहीं. अफवाज पाकिस्तान तमाम अंदरूनी और बैरूनी चैलेंजेस और खतरात से निपटने की भरपूर सलाहियत रखती हैं, चाहे वो रवायती जंग हो, चाहे गैर रवायती, चाहे हॉट स्टार्ट हो, कोल्ड स्टार्ट, हम तैयार हैं.
The Pak Army Chief also had a warning for India that in case of a war there would be unbearable costs to the enemy.
आज भी हमारी मसल्ह फौज किसी भी किस्म की बैरूनी जारियत का मुकाबला करने की भरपूर सलाहियत रखती हैं. दुश्मन ने अगर कभी भी छोटे या बड़े पैमाने पर जारियत की कोशिश की तो उसे इसकी नाकाबिले बर्दाश्त कीमत अदा करनी पड़ेगी.
General Sharif's remarks are being seen as a response to a statement last week by Indian Army Chief General Darbir Singh Suhag, who said that the Indian Army was prepared for swift, short nature of future wars. General Sharif also referred to Kashmir as the unfinished agenda of partition. But his warning that Kashmir cannot be put on the back burner came amid an 8th day of ceasefire violations in Jammu and Kashmir this month alone. Pakistani troops pounded forward posts and civilian areas in Poonch district along the line of control, forcing the Indian Army to retaliate. Pakistan Rangers fired mortar shells, rocket projectile grenades and used automatic weapons to target the forward posts. 7 civilians were injured in the firing while 1 person died. But General Sharif's remarks did not go down too well with India, with Minister of State and the PMO Jitendra Singh saying that the only issue pending about Kashmir was Pakistan's illegal occupation of some parts of the state.
कोई विषय जम्मू कश्मीर को लेकर के है पाकिस्तान के साथ, वो मात्र इतना कि पाक अधिकृत जम्मू कश्मीर का हिस्सा किस प्रकार पुनः भारत में शामिल किया जा सके, अर्थात वो हिस्सा जो 65-66 वर्षों के बाद भी प्रदेश जम्मू कश्मीर का भाग होने के बावजूद भी पाकिस्तान के गैर कानूनी कब्जे में है, उसे किस प्रकार गैर कानूनी कब्जे से छुड़ा करके भारत में पुनः शामिल किया।
Politicians also slammed General Rahil Sharif over his provocative remarks, saying it showed Pakistan's immaturity. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Moving on now, the central government on Monday decided to allow minority refugees from Bangladesh and Pakistan who entered India on or before December 31st, 2014 to stay in India even after expiry of their visas on humanitarian grounds. The decision has been taken under Passport Act of 1920 and Foreigners Act of 1946. The decision was taken to address the difficulty being faced by Hindus and Sikhs of Pakistan, Bangladesh and Afghanistan who had come with the intention of settling permanently in India after facing religious persecution in their countries. There is, however, no exact number of such minority refugees from these countries, but officials put the figure of around 2 lakh Hindus and Sikhs refugees from Bangladesh, Pakistan and Afghanistan living in India. Well, Defence Minister Parrikar has said the final order explaining the details of one rank, one pension will be soon made public. Addressing the media on the sidelines of an engineers conclave at the Bhabha Atomic Research Centre in Mumbai, Parrikar said that soldiers who have retired after following proper procedure will not be adversely impacted. He also clarified that the voluntary retirement scheme for the armed forces is very different from that for civilians, and if the retirement happens before a specific time, then the person may not get the OROP benefits. Well, it's time now for a short break, but still to come. An Air India plane makes an emergency landing in Delhi. Reports say that 5 people were injured during evacuation. Airline denies reports. That and much more coming up on the other side. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
We have with us a very special guest, Mr. Shyam Saran.
Every crisis is also supposed to be an opportunity, and I think that there are opportunities for India in the way the global economy is getting transformed. Making certain not very radical changes like the GST, the payoff for you is pretty nice.
Watch Chairman of Research and Information System for Developing Countries, Shyam Saran, articulate on nation's economic roadmap in State of the Economy on Rajya Sabha television.
Back, you're watching Rajya Sabha television. Well, an Air India plane made an emergency landing on Monday evening at the Indira Gandhi International Airport following a hydraulic failure. 5 people were injured during the evacuation of the aircraft. 159 people were on board when the wheels of the aircraft caught fire while landing under emergency conditions. In its statement, Air India said that the incident took place at around 7:58 on Monday. While the airliner acknowledged a hydraulic leak, they said that there was no fire and neither were passengers or the crew injured during evacuation. The flight 405 was travelling to Delhi from Varanasi.
Out of 144 passengers on board, total 5 passengers had minor injuries, and which has been given first aid, and thanks God that everybody is safe.
There was some hydraulic problem on this flight which was coming from Varanasi, and emergency landing was made by the pilot, and after the landing some smoke was noticed in one of the wheels of the aircraft, and subsequently, as per the procedure, established procedure and protocol, passengers were evacuated through the chute.
Moving on to the flood situation in Assam now, where the State Disaster Management Authority has said that 80% of the state has been engulfed by the flood waters. 6 more deaths were reported on Monday, taking the total number of dead in the current wave of floods to 42. 20 out of the total 27 districts in the state have been hit and 18 lakh people have been affected so far. 1.1 lakh hectares of crop land has also been submerged. The worst hit is the Dhubri district, where nearly 4.5 lakh people have been affected. Authorities are running 308 relief camps, sheltering nearly 1.4 lakh people. The Brahmaputra is flowing above its danger level in Jorhat, Golpara and Dhubri districts. Here's a look now at the news and events lined up for today in our segment, The Day Ahead. The Election Commission is likely to announce the poll schedule for Bihar Assembly elections today. The number of phases for polling will be decided on the basis of availability of central forces, keeping the major festivals in mind. The elections are expected to be held in multiple phases, which could begin in mid-October and stretch till November. The Aam Aadmi Party government will launch its higher education loan scheme for students today. Under the scheme, students will get a loan of up to 10 lakh rupees without guarantee from the Delhi government for higher education. The government will launch an e-version of the collected works of Mahatma Gandhi today to make the Mahatma's writings available to the world on a digital platform. Information and Broadcasting Minister Arun Jaitley will launch the e-version of the 100 volumes of collected works of Mahatma Gandhi in the form of DVDs. All the data will be uplinked on the Gandhi Heritage portal. Moving on now, India has announced a cash assistance of $5 lakh to Jordan to meet the enormous impact of Syrian refugees. Indian Ambassador to Jordan Anil Trigunayat announced this on Twitter after meeting with Minister of Planning and International Cooperation for Jordan Imad Fakhuri. An official press release said that the cash assistance of $500,000 constitutes the first ever cash assistance from the Government of India to the Government of Jordan on bilateral basis. Last year too, the same amount was paid to Jordan's response fund. The cash assistance to Jordan is part of the pledge made by India at the 3rd Pledging Conference on Syria held in Kuwait in March this year. On to the latest in the migrant crisis in Europe. Now, Hungary has once again become the flashpoint as clashes erupted between migrants and the police on Monday. Thousands of migrants eager to rush to Germany broke off the police cordon and began walking towards Budapest. Amid fresh tensions and the surge in the number of migrants, Germany has appealed to EU member countries to heed to the refugee quota system.
Weary of waiting for days to reach Germany, hundreds of migrants broke through police lines on Hungary's border with Serbia and set off on foot towards Budapest on Monday. Around 300 migrants set off down the wrong side of the motorway, breaking through a cordon and clashing with the forces at a reception camp in Ross. The police were unable to prevent their escape from the camp despite using pepper spray. But having walked a few kilometers, the exhausted migrants returned to the camp late Monday night.
We just want to cross the borders. We're not demanding anything. We don't want to be put in hotels. We just want to cross the border and get to the country we're destined to go to. Germany is accepting all of us. Why don't they just let us?
As Hungary once again became the flashpoint of the migrant crisis, authorities ordered construction of a fence and stepping up patrols at borders, arresting those trying to cross over on foot. Meanwhile, Germany, where most migrants are headed and which expects 800,000 asylum requests this year, has said it wants other EU states to help shoulder the burden. But the crisis has divided the 28-nation bloc.
Wir werden auch in einer Taskforce unter luxemburgischer Präsidentschaft bis zum Justiz- und Innenministerrat bereits mit den betroffenen Ländern über den Bau von Hotspots sprechen. Das eilt, das drängt. Denn eins will ich auch sagen, Deutschland ist ein aufnahmebereites Land, aber Flüchtlinge können in allen Mitgliedstaaten der Europäischen Union so aufgenommen werden, dass sie Schutz vor Verfolgung und Schutz vor Bürgerkrieg finden können.
France has agreed to take in 24,000 refugees under the European Commission guidelines, while Britain has said it will accept up to 20,000 refugees from Syria by 2020.
We've already provided sanctuary to more than 5,000 Syrians in Britain and have introduced a specific resettlement scheme alongside those we already have to help those Syrian refugees particularly at risk. But given the scale of the crisis and the suffering of the Syrian people, it is right that we should do much more. So, Mr. Speaker, we are proposing that Britain should resettle up to 20,000 Syrian refugees over the rest of this Parliament.
But the Prime Ministers of Slovakia, Czech Republic and Romania have refused to agree to a refugee quota system. Amid the ongoing crisis, the United Nations has expressed hope that EU ministers meeting in Brussels next week would make fundamental decisions with regard to the intake of migrants. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Meanwhile, British Prime Minister David Cameron announced on Monday that a 21-year-old British citizen, a member of the Islamic State terror group, was killed in a drone strike in Syria last month.
It's been reported that
Cameron told the British Parliament that Rayad Khan, the British citizen, had been planning attacks on Britain along with his accomplices. He was killed along with two others while on the way to Raqqa. Cameron defended the action as entirely lawful and in keeping with international law and procedure. He said it was necessary and proportionate as it threatened the security of the country.
Two ISIL fighters of British nationality who had been plotting attacks against the UK and other countries have been killed in airstrikes. Both Junaid Hussain and Rayad Khan were British nationals based in Syria who were involved in actively recruiting ISIL sympathisers and seeking to orchestrate specific and barbaric attacks against the West, including directing a number of planned terrorist attacks right here in Britain.
Moving on to some sports news now. On day 8 of the US Open, top seeds including Stan Wawrinka and Simona Halep advanced to the quarterfinals, while a major surprise came as Britain's Andy Murray failed to secure a place in the US Open quarterfinals after being defeated by South Africa's Kevin Anderson in the 4th round. Meanwhile, the Indo-Romanian pair of Rohan Bopanna and Florin Mergia entered the quarterfinals of the men's doubles. Here's some action from Flushing Meadows.
The Indo-Romanian pair of Rohan Bopanna and Florin Mergia moved into the quarterfinals of the US Open. In a 2 hours and 6-minute match, the pair outplayed 9 seeds Daniel Nesta and Edouard Roger Vasselin 6-7, 6-4, 6-3 with 10 aces and 49 winners. The duo will take on the unseeded team of Dominic Inglot and Robert Linsett in the next clash.
Here, back in the quarterfinals for me, playing a team like Nestor and Vasselin, they've been the hottest team coming into this tournament, and they won a tournament and made a final of the Masters Series. So I knew we were going to have a tough match, and I think we were here before the tournament, a week before, preparing and getting used to this heat, and I think that really showed that today we could, keep our energy up, and whether it was the first set or right in the end till the 3rd set.
Men's singles game saw a major surprise as South Africa's Kevin Anderson reached his first Grand Slam quarterfinal after an amazing hard-won victory against Britain's Andy Murray. Anderson defeated Murray 6-7, 3-6, 7-6, 6-7 in the longest men's match of this year's US Open tournament so far. With this victory, Anderson will now face Swiss Stan Wawrinka, who defeated America's Donald Young 6-4, 1-6, 6-3, 6-4 to reach his 3rd straight US Open quarterfinals.
Yeah, I'm a little lost for words right now. Obviously coming out here playing Andy, it's a very tough matchup, and I just managed to keep my composure throughout, and honestly played probably one of the best matches of my life. And obviously to get through to the quarterfinals for the first time here in New York feels just amazing.
In the women's draw, world number 2 Simona Halep advanced to the quarterfinals, while 13-seed Katerina Makarova ousted out in the 4th round of the US Open. Simona escaped a sloppy match on the scorching Louis Armstrong Stadium court with a 6-7, 7-5, 6-2 victory over 24th-seeded Sabine Lisicki. Halep will now face 20th-seeded Victoria Azarenka, who advanced with a 6-3, 6-4 victory over Varvara Lepchenko of the United States. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
And that's it on this edition of the Breakfast News. Have a nice day.